Knowing the Lord is an amazing thing. Literally, nothing better can happen to a human. You can now dismiss your servant in peace, for my eyes have seen the salvation of Israel. Everything he had done up until that point made sense. All things work together, not just future events, not just present events, also past events. Welcome to Merizo TV. I'm excited to have you here. I have been looking forward to doing this. Over the past couple of years, we have been doing articles and graphics, and I'm finally excited that we can do videos now. And so if you have been blessed in the past by our articles and graphics, I'm sure you'll be much more blessed with the videos. So like, share, subscribe, and invite your friends to do the same. Today we'll be kicking off 12 days of Christmas for this year. The first time I did this was in 2015. And each year after that, I've tried to do this every year. And boy, there are a lot of lessons that we have drawn from Christmas. I know that we have celebrated Christmas again and again, year in, year out. Feel like we have heard all the songs, we have seen all the movies, we have read all the passages, and what else? What I assure you, in God, everything can be fresh again. We might have even heard stories that Christmas has a pagan origin and all that and all that. Well, I mean, it's interesting that the actual day is not widely agreed upon, so that we don't make an idol of that. But it's okay to take one day in a year and celebrate. Not a lot of people know what Jesus has come to do. And so it's okay to spend one day and let the whole world celebrate, whether or not they know the full implications. So I'm going to show you how I make the best of Christmas. Remember this: what God does for all, He desires to do for each one. And what God does for each one, He desires to do for all. And so Christmas is a story of Jesus coming into the world. But to draw more lessons, we can reinterpret this to mean how Jesus comes into a life. And we see this truth in each of the people involved in the Christmas story. There's such a diverse mix of people that we read about. We read about the young and the old. That's Mary, Joseph, and then Zechariah, Elizabeth, Simeon, and Anne. We read about the knowledgeable and not so knowledgeable. We see the wise men or astrologers from the east. We see the nomads, the shepherds, and then we see the settlers, people who were there. We also see priests and laymen. We see virgin and barren. We see like a wide mix of people. This is to say that Jesus comes for all. There's not a specific set of people that Jesus seeks to reach out to. He seeks to reach out to every person of all nations, of all tribes, of all backgrounds, of all professions. Jesus is for everyone. Nobody is left out. Believer, doubter, knowledgeable, ignorant. Jesus comes for everyone. Nobody is left out, irrespective of where they are. Let's zoom into the characters by age. We see the young. We see Mary and Joseph. And it's said that Mary was about 16, 17. Some say 15, 16, 17. Joseph himself was not too far away. It's not like these days where people get old before they get married. I don't think they had this much economic weight or expectations at the time. So people really did those things early. Knowing the Lord is an amazing thing. Literally, nothing better can happen to a human. Nobody is too young to know the Lord. Knowing Jesus alone is great enough. But imagine you know the Lord and then you have time. There are unimaginable exploits that you can do. You can partner with God on so many things. You can partner in what God is doing in the lives of people. You can partner with what God is doing in your life, in your city, in your community. It's beautiful. Nobody is too old to know the Lord either. We see the likes of Simeon and Anne, Elizabeth and Zechariah. They were all involved. There is opportunity, there is room for everyone. There is room for everyone. There's a scripture I love so much. It is all things work together for good. A lot of times we think that it's only about things right now or things in the future. Let's take a look at Simeon. When he saw Jesus at the dedication, he said that you can now dismiss your servant in peace, for my eyes have seen the salvation of Israel. Everything he had done up until that point made sense. So when scripture says all things work together for good, it's not just the things you are doing now and the things you will do. It is also about things that you have done in the past. Some of us have stories we're embarrassed to talk about. Some of us have really terrible history that we're still healing from. But this is an interesting thing. In the hands of Jesus, it can make history a beautiful thing, no matter how terrible it is. We know that for great events, it's easy to, okay, God can easily use great events. But, not so great events, we find it hard to imagine God can use them. But in the hands of the Lord, they can be beautiful. Look at Anna. She had lost her husband as a young married person, and then she stayed celibate. She stayed as a widow, just dedicated to prayer and fasting. And see that her life was a beautiful story at the end of the day. God took that story and rewrote it, it reinterpreted it, brought new meaning out of it. And then we're talking about it today. So, in the hands of Jesus, all events can be redefined for good. In the hands of the Lord, a death can be an opportunity to introduce you to what life is. A loss can be an opportunity to introduce to you what a gain is, but only in the hands of the Lord. All things can indeed work together for good, no matter how far back in the past they are. We also see people from far and near involved in the Christmas story. We see the shepherds who were neighbors, who were around, and then we see the wise men from far away. Irrespective of nationality, Jesus has room for everyone. We also see people at different ends of desires. We see somebody like Mary who wasn't even expecting to have a baby. It was a shock. And then we see somebody like Elizabeth who probably had given up on having a child. And then God visited both, and then they had new cause to rejoice. Isn't that amazing? From the virgin to the widow, from the one that men desired to the one who was forsaken and already ridiculed, to the one who was hopeful, and then to the one who was tired. Jesus is indeed for everyone. We see priests as well, of course, Zechariah, and then we see other people in different types of ministry, Simeon and Anne. It's not a very common type of ministry, but nonetheless, it is still full time. They were dedicated, to what fasting and praying. And then we see Joseph and the shepherds and the astronauts who were just professionals in their own respective fields. Jesus does not leave anyone out. Male, female, believer, doubter, knowledgeable, ignorant. The wise men from the east were like the knowledgeable people of the day. Yeah, they were like the rocket scientists of the day. And then God pulled them into the story. And then we see laymen also, people who really didn't even know what was going on. Yeah. Herod was caught unawares. And then he had an opportunity, but his heart was hardened. Everyone gets an opportunity to be pulled into what God is doing. And so when you hear your call, don't turn back. Don't be hard hearted. Jesus has room for you. He's got purpose for you. All things work together, not just future events, not just present events, also past events. We also see people in darkness and in light. Scripture talks about those who walk in darkness have seen a great light. You see that people without knowledge of what was going on, darkness and ignorance, they were visited. And then people who knew what was going on, maybe they didn't know what the time was. Simeon and Anne, who were praying and, in expectation, in anticipation, they were also pulled in. So we can see like variety of different types of people and different backgrounds being pulled into what the Lord is doing. So don't be left out yourself. Jesus has room for everyone. The Lord of the universe, the creator of everything and anyone, cannot be stranded in ensuring that one creature is fully catered for, that one creature totally and completely fulfills purpose. And so don't be scared to trust in the Lord. So no matter your history, no matter your background, no matter your gender, no matter your age, here is your invitation into what the Lord is doing. It's Christmas season again, but much more. Jesus is willing to visit again and again. He's willing to make himself known again and again. So there is room for you to be a part of this story. There is an opportunity for you to write your name in eternity. So come along, be a part, bring all of you, bring your history, bring your future, and in the hands of the Lord, everything will work together for good. God bless you.